With the real estate market constantly changing, it is important for investors, agents, and wholesalers to use the right tools for analyzing their market. In this video, we're going to automatically retrieve for sale property listings from Zillow using Python. You will be able to pull information like sales price, beds, baths, and even Zestimate within seconds for your search. My name is Ariel Herrera, your fellow data scientist with the AnalyticsAriel channel, where we bridge the gap between real estate and technology. I love bringing easy-to-use solutions that you can apply to your business to scale and grow. Please like this video so that we can reach a wider audience, and subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss out on the latest content. All right, let's get started. In this video, our goal is going to be retrieving property listings, so current properties that are for sale and listed on the MLS. We could see these properties on online realtor sites like Zillow. On the right-hand side, we could see a list of properties that meet a certain search criteria. Here, I've already searched on for sale homes, the price, bedrooms, home type, and square footage. Now, if we come over to the right-hand side, we could see all of the listings that meet this criteria. Without using programmatic tools, we would need to copy this information down line by line to get these property attributes so we could then analyze this information. However, using web scraping APIs, we could actually utilize this data in a structured manner with only a few lines of code in Python. So to get started, copy the link below and head over to Google Colab. Google Colab is the environment that we're going to use in order to code in Python without having to have it installed at all on our machines. To start, you're going to go to File and save a copy in Drive. This will save Google Colab to your own folder. If you have never used Google Colab, you will just have to quickly install it, and you can search on Google how to do so. Now, if you're completely brand new to Python, but you want to learn, then I suggest taking the Intro to Python course that I have for free on YouTube. And if you want to learn even more, you can scale by going to the paid course, Intro to Real Estate Data Analytics. Now, if you are not looking to learn how to code, then check out the previous video of how to get all of the Zillow listings for your search by using the property search tool by AnalyticsAriel. You'll be able to quickly paste your listing URL, get all the information, including some graphs and charts, and ultimately download the CSV file of these listings. For this Python tutorial, we're going to walk through the Google Colab notebook. So first step is importing our relevant libraries. So I'm going to click the play button here, or you could also go to Control-Enter on your keyboard. We see on the left-hand side is a check mark. It says that yes, the cell has completed, the script has run, and it took 1 second. Now we're going to use several functions within this notebook. So for now, I'm just going to click play, run to have all of them run here. And next step is to load in our locals and constants. So in order for us to query this information, we need to use some sort of API to do so. So the API that we're going to work with is Zillow Scraper by ScrapePeek. So the Zillow Scraper allows us to extract US and Canada real estate data. We can search for sale and rental listings by state, address, neighborhood, city, or even zip code. Now, if you haven't signed up for an account yet, it is free to use. So you will click the link below and then come over to the right-hand side and select Try for free. Once you sign up for an account, you will see that you are met with your dashboard. You could look at all the scrapers that you're signed up for. In this case, I'm signed up for Zillow Scraper API. Then you can come over to Plans and select your plan. If you're just getting started and looking at, say, one particular market, then start off with the starter package. This will give you 1,000 credits a month for free. Therefore, you could do 100 searches a month without having to go to a higher tier plan. Now, once you click Starter, you will come over to your account settings. Here you would see your information, including your current starter plan, as well as how many plan credits you have and how many you have used. Now the most important is all the way at the bottom where we see API key. This will be our unique, think of a password, that will allow us to access the data. So copy your API key. Now coming back to the notebook, I actually have my key already saved in a file in my Google Drive. So I have a file called apikeys.csv, and there I have all of my keys saved because I use many APIs, not just the ones from Scrape Peek. And in this case, I'm using a pandas data frame to locate where I have the key stored, which is under Scrape Peek. Now, if you want to skip the step of creating a CSV file and saving down your key, that's fine. What you would do is you would uncomment the code here. So I just did that with a shortcut, but you could add a pound in front of each of the lines. Then you would also comment out API keys because you don't have that file. And then lastly, where you have API key equals is where you would put the string of your variable, of your actual API key. So say if your API key is a jumbled mess of different strings and characters, you'd enter that in here within these quotes. And then when you click run, it will just be getting the variable API key. All right, so now let's imagine that you have one of two ways. You've either created a CSV file that you're pointing towards, or you created just a string that's holding the variable for API key. Now the next step is we want to actually get these property listings that are for sale. So I have here my search, and if I copy the URL, I could paste it directly into this variable called listings URL. The next step here is I'm going to get these listings. So I'm passing in to a function two different variables, API key and listing URL. So API key is required for us to be able to query or request data from the endpoint, and listing URL is the data that we want to retrieve for. So if we look at the get listings function above, we could see it's pretty simple. We state what the URL is, the endpoint that we want to get data. So if we go back to the documentation for Scrape Peek and we go to API documentation, we could see here that if we want to get listings data, we have to get it from this particular endpoint. And we have to pass in our API key and our URL. So that's what's happening here in this function. Within our query string, we pass in API key and the URL. Then we make a request to get that data and we pass in our query string. Coming back down, we can run this code. And we're basically getting all of the property listings for our search that we made for Zillow. Now we can view all the components, all the keys that come back in our response. So we could see whether our request was successful or not. We transform this response to a JSON object, which is now like a dictionary format. So we have keys and value pairs. And then we specify that we want to look at whether it was successful or not, which is true. So that means we should have the data in our variable. Now, if we run the next cell, we're going to, again, get information from our listing response, transform it to a JSON object, but now we're querying the data specifically. And we want to look at the total count, so the total number of records that returned. Press play, we can see that there's a total of 229 properties. And if we go back to our search, that does match 229 agent listings. Now, what if we want to view these listings so that it's easy for us to analyze? This is where we're going to transform our object into a pandas data frame. Think of it as a table that has rows and columns. So I'm going to first press play and then explain what's happening. So here we've printed the number of rows, 220, and number of columns, which is 72. Now what we've done is we've taken our JSON response and we've gotten all of our search results. We've then taken the JSON object and transformed it into a pandas data frame using JSON_normalize. We set the pandas data frame to df_listings. So now we have a table of all of our listings, which is awesome. We could see here that we have the ZPID, which is the unique identifier. Then we have the price of the property, as well as beds, baths, square footage, and we have so many more columns. We could even see if the listing is new construction, what the actual link is if we want to get back to the property. We could see if it's a featured listing where the location is latitude and longitude, if there's been any price decreases, if there's been open houses, and we could even get information such as the Zestimate and the rent Zestimate as well. We could even see if it's for sale by agent, if it's a pre-foreclosure, as well if it's non-owner occupied. And I highly encourage you to keep looking through these columns, and then for your use case, you could maybe select just a subset of columns that you actually want. Now, if we scroll down a bit more, we can actually try to analyze some of these columns. So by using Plotly Express, which is a super easy to use visualization library in Python, we can quickly look at some of these values and see how they trend. So first, I'm going to look at price. My question is, all right, I'm looking at Tampa, the city. I have my search criteria or buy box of what I'm potentially going to try to acquire for properties, but I want to understand, where does most of the data lie? What is the sales price for most of these homes? So if I click play here, I have basically told Plotly Express I want to create a histogram. So I want to see the price of all the homes, and I'm specifying that column here. And then I also want to get the count of all homes that are in that bucket. So what this tells me here, the highest point, is that most of the data, 51 properties in particular, are priced between $350K and $400K. Now, if we go down to Zestimate, I can run this and switch the column to Zestimate, and I could see that most of the properties, the highest number is 17, and they are between $360K and $380K. This is around the same range as what homes are being listed as, so it's making me inclined to believe that listing prices are coming close to Zestimate values. So maybe they're being assessed more fairly, whereas in the past, in 2021, 2022, listing prices were astronomical and people were still paying these high prices because there was high demand and low amount of supply. Now let's go down to our last chart. We could also view rent Zestimate. And now this chart looks a little bit different because it's a box plot, but essentially is also allowing us to understand a distribution of our data set. We could see here that the median rent for our search criteria is about $2,200, with the high being $3,500 and low being $1,300. As an investor, I'd like to really understand more on this rent as to why certain properties are higher in price and lower, because my search criteria is pretty tight in that I'm only looking at a certain amount of bedrooms and square footage. So I'd want to know if there are particular neighborhoods where the rent is lower, maybe it's more of a C class, whereas neighborhoods that have a higher rent that maybe are more A class. Lastly, if we'd like to actually download this data, we can in Google Colab. What we do is specify for our data frame to be a CSV file, and we specify the name here of that CSV file. We can then click play and our file will download. We'll be able to analyze this in a software like Excel or even in Google Sheets as well. We could see all of the columns that we have here laid out, and we could perform additional analysis if we'd like. Now, if you're a buy and hold real estate investor seeking cash flowing deals similar to myself, then I highly suggest for you to check out the tool Coffee Closers, which is one that I am actually a co-founder of and really proud of the progress we've made thus far. Coffee Closers allows you to enter in a city and it automatically calculates for you cash flow. You could also view details on a property as well. By selecting a particular property, you can look at metrics like price per square foot. As well, you can estimate what your cash flow would be. You can quickly toggle on numbers to see how that would adjust. As well, you could see your purchase costs and you could dive into the numbers if the property needed renovations. In addition, you could look at comparables for recently sold properties and rental estimates. So I hope this Python tutorial has been useful for you to understand how you can utilize APIs to automatically acquire information like property listings that match your specific search criteria. I'd love to hear more about the market that you're targeting, as well as how you're using this data to empower your business. Please leave comments below, and if you haven't already, subscribe and like this video. Thank you.